Good evening, sorors, amici, distinguished guests, community partners, families, and friends. Today, we are going to speak on the power of neurodiversity and talk about access in today's climate. Before we proceed, it is fitting and necessary that we pause to honor the legacy, leadership, and foundation upon which this moment stands. We pay homage to our five illustrious founders, Arizona Cleaver Simmons, Pearl Anna Neal, Myrtle Tyler Faithful, Viola Tyler Goings, and Fanny Petty Watts, visionary women who dared to establish an organization 106 years ago, rooted in scholarship, service, sisterhood, and finer womanhood. Because of their foresight and unwavering commitment, we are able to continue this work of advocacy, education, and community impact today. We also extend honor and respect to our international, regional, and state leadership whose guidance ensures that our programs remain responsive, relevant, and aligned with the needs of our communities that we serve. Their leadership allows our initiatives such as this to not only exist, but to thrive with purpose. And now it is my distinct honor to present our 26th International President and CEO, Madam Grand, Dr. Stacy N.C. Grant, for opening remarks. Madam Grand.
Thank you so much, Director Ward, for that very gracious opening. And greetings to all those assembled, my sorors, our friends, honored guests. We appreciate your time tonight as we are kicking off this International Autism Acceptance Committee's work on convening a national webinar to highlight what it is that we have been committed as an organization to do. And we talk about the extraordinary power of she, advocating for social justice, health justice, and economic justice at home and abroad. This gathering reflects our continued commitment to elevating lived experiences, strengthening disability advocacy awareness, and equipping families with practical, relevant guidance as they navigate autism and related disabilities. This work is especially meaningful as it's enriched through a collaboration with our honorary members of Alpha Omega chapter, and we understand the joy of being able to celebrate their advocacy because their voices and personal journeys help to deepen understanding and expand our collective impact, along with our celebrity singer, Syleena Johnson. You're in for a treat tonight. And by intentionally embracing disability lenses, we're able to really acknowledge the shared challenges across neurodevelopment communities while reinforcing our sorority's unwavering commitment to inclusive, people-centered service. And it's personal to me, and I really am grateful that as an organization, we can uplift the kind of education that tonight will bring. So on behalf of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated and our International Autism Acceptance Program, it's an honor to welcome you to tonight's conversation, Power in Neurodiversity, Advocacy, and Access in Today's Climate. Thank you to Director Ward and Co-Director Muntz for leading this work. And tonight, we'll be centering families, we are centering lived experiences, and we are centering access to information that will allow you to continue to inform others. This dialogue is going to be rich, and I really pray that it empowers each of you to advocate boldly, engage intentionally, and continue advancing equity within our communities. Thank you again for the opportunity to say hello, and I'm going to turn it right back over so we can continue with tonight's program.
Thank you, Madam Grand, for setting the tone for this important conversation. I'll now turn it over to our co-director, Sora Muntz, for a few brief housekeeping reminders. Sora Muntz?
Yes, thank you, Director Ward. Once again, thank you all for being in attendance. I want to give you a little bit of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded and closed captioning is available for accessibility. We encourage you to submit questions throughout the discussion using the Q&A feature, and we will address as many of those questions as time allows. So once again, thank you for your attention to these housekeeping commitments. To thoughtfully ground this conversation in lived experiences, I now invite Sora Bozier to introduce our distinguished panelists for this evening. Sora Bozier, you now have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sora Muntz. Okay, we have three amazing women of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. So first, I will introduce Debra Vines. When her son Jason was diagnosed with autism at 18 months old, Debra struggled to find the resources and support they needed. After years of feeling helpless, she started The Answer Inc., a nonprofit organization that supports African American families in underserved communities in and around Chicago that have been impacted by autism. Their mission is to improve awareness and provide a safer environment for families. Debra has been acknowledged numerous times for her work. In 2022, she was named one of the top CNN heroes. Debra is grateful for all of the awards and accomplishments, but she says she is most appreciative of the opportunities to shine a brighter light on the disability community. She's especially proud to be a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, where she was inducted through Alpha Omega chapter in the class of 2023. Of course, we have with us our songbird, another songbird here, our Syleena Johnson. She is a two-time Grammy-nominated R&B and soul singer, songwriter, producer, and actress. She has received critical acclaim for her sultry vocals and garnered multiple nominations from BET, Billboard Video, MTV, and Vibe Awards. She has charted numerous number one singles and albums, but her biggest accomplishments are being a wife, sister, friend, soror, and mother of KJ and Kingston. You already know, she's a proud woman of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, initiated through Lambda Epsilon chapter in 1996. We also have with us Stephanie Mills, and she is an actress, songwriter, singer, musician, and philanthropist. She rose to stardom as playing Dorothy Gale in the original seven-time Tony Award-winning Broadway musical, The Wiz. Now, throughout her musical career, she's had several number one R&B hits, gold and platinum albums, numerous nominations, and a Grammy Award. In 2021, Stephanie participated in the Versus battle with another Finer Woman of Zeta, Shaka Khan, where both of them performed hits from their former albums. In 2024, Stephanie returned to Broadway after 40 years as Mrs. Hermes in the musical Hadestown. And in 2025, Billboard named her one of the 75 best R&B singers of all times. So when she's not touring or on Broadway or on television, she is just her doting mom, as always, to her wonderful son, Farad, and she runs the 4-4 Love Foundation. And many of you participated and witnessed her induction through Alpha Omega chapter in January. So she is bringing in our class of 2026. So Sora Muntz, I'm going to turn it over to you and Sora Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sora Bozier Jones, for those wonderful introductions. I am just so excited. I'm gonna try not to let my nerves get the better of me because I have talked to just about each of you except for Sora Mills. So the nerves will wear off eventually as we go on. I thought of this having this conversation to ground what it's like to be a parent of a child of a special needs. And with the induction of Sora Mills, I thought it be befitting to include her in this conversation. Yes, this is Autism Acceptance Month. However, it is also, neurodiversity encompassing. And we do include, and we'll start talking this conversation, we'll start that off with also including Down syndrome. So to begin, we want to center each of your journeys because advocacy often starts long before it becomes visible to others. And I'm going to start with Sora Vines. So, Vines, can you share a brief overview of your journey into autism advocacy and the moment that shifted you from navigating privately as a parent to advocating publicly? You're on mute, Soror. You're on mute.
Sorry. We
Yeah.
don't have but an hour, but it's been a journey. And thank you so much, Soror Ward. And I'm so grateful to be here with my other sorors. My journey started with Jason at 18 months, but I'm going to say the advocacy kicked in when he was about 15, because when Jason was diagnosed, when Jason was diagnosed, I went into I guess you would say, postpartum depression for a very long time that led me into drug addiction. And I was this drug addicted supermom, right? And I'm very transparent about my life. And so it led me into that. And once I got clean, I went into real advocacy mode, not just for me, but for other parents as well. And we started the Answer Incorporated. My late husband and I started the Answer Incorporated in 2007. I'm going to say Jason was about maybe 17, 18 then. But I went through the journey of him being diagnosed at 18 months to 17 years to just really just kick it in to help other families living with autism and developmental and intellectual disabilities. Um, God had given me the vision in 2003, and I just ignored it. But I know what my life is meant to be, and that's to help others through advocacy. And it's something that I wake up in the morning doing and go to bed at night doing, is advocating for other families and just spreading the word about special needs in Black and Brown communities, because it's really ignored. We are at the bottom of the totem pole in so many states as it relates to funding and things like that for advocates to help our children and adults to get better. And so I saw what my personal needs were, and that's when I kicked into overdrive, if that makes sense. So
Yes.
don't want to take up too much time. So
Yeah. Thank you for
that's
grounding us. Yes, thank you for grounding us in that experience. Sora Months.
Yes. Once again, thank you for that level of transparency and openness that you shared with us. So I would like to ask a question to Sora Johnson. As both a mother and a public figure, how has your journey as an autism mom and caregiver in this space shaped your advocacy? And what has that looked like in your day to day life, if you're comfortable sharing?
Yes, I am comfortable sharing. Um, so for me, personally, and Deborah, I didn't know that about your story. That's absolutely amazing. You are an absolute superwoman. And I love I love the whole ideology of your organization.
Yes.
So I'll say that. But for me as an entertainer, see, it's very difficult for me because from the outside looking in, I'm looked at as an entertainer. But when you are an autism mom, to me, I'm just an autism mom, right? So my advocacy um, as a public figure is always going to be vocal, our reach and connectivity to other moms like Deborah, other moms like Miss Sora Mills, other moms who have children who are on the spectrum. I feel like my connective portal is social media. And I feel like being able to connect with other autism moms through social media has been extremely powerful for me, as well as awareness, and even creating a page for my son and showing all of the things that he can do. Because there's a lot of kid, they can't do this, they can't do that, they can't do this, they can't do that, and it's just simply not true. And I feel like showing and promoting Kingston's gifts and promoting the things that he can do helps to advocate and inspire other moms, because there's not a lot of inspirational outlets, right? So I feel like that's a level of advocacy. And when I was on Sister Circle as a talk show host, every April, we would light it up blue every single day of the month. And so through social media, I would find different autistic children and I would highlight them and talk about their stories every single day for the whole month of April when we were on Sister Circle. And then we would send them gifts. We would, just try and create awareness and advocacy that way. I just feel like there needs to be more information about them. So,
Mhm.
more information about autism and autism families. So my advocacy is through, I feel like, social media and uh, television and media.
I love that, Sir Johnson. Like, I love how you talked about how you leverage your influence and your social media presence to bring more attention to the everyday experiences and showing that there is a lot of beauty in the diversity that comes with the neurodiverse community. And I absolutely love that. I actually have another question, so I have a follow-up question.
Mhm.
What are some of the realities of caregiving that people don't see? Because you kind of gave us a little touch on that. So, what are some of the realities of caregiving that people don't see, especially from the outside looking in, if you're willing to share?
Well, first of all, let me just differentiate between caregiving in
Mhm,
regards to me and other autistic moms.
mhm,
There's so many levels to the spectrum, right? So my son is high functioning. I don't
mhm,
like to think of myself as a caregiver when it comes to Kingston because Kingston is
mhm,
very self sufficient. When I think of caregiving, I think of the moms who have children who are nonverbal, who
mhm,
are, who can't walk and different things of that nature. So
mhm,
in regards to caregiving, I don't want to take away from the impact that other autism moms do have
mhm,
to that is part of their uh, everyday
mhm,
life.
mhm,
As for me though, I think some of the things that the outside world does not get to see that we do are milestones.
mhm,
They don't get to see the milestones. They don't get to see the first time your baby tells you I love you. They don't get to see the first time that they, eat a new food. They don't get to see those things. And I think that because they are not privy to the
mhm,
progresses, I'll just make a word of the progression that is constantly happening with our children, whether they're minuscule or
mhm,
big, I think that it causes them to box all of our children or adults in one kind of box. Oh, they're just special needs.
mhm.
Well, I think that we should be more sensitive to the spectrum, to the
Yeah.
spectrum of autism, because I feel like the thing that the outer world or whatever you want to call it doesn't necessarily grasp are I think they feel they're more inclined to thinking about what's not, what they don't have, what they can't do, as opposed to all the things that they do and all the accomplishments and
Mhm.
milestones and roadblocks that they break down. So that would be the thing that I would say is something that the people on the outside looking in don't necessarily grasp.
I absolutely love your response, Sora Johnson, because I feel like you brought attention to the diversity within diversity. Because sometimes I do feel like our conversations can somewhat feel pointed on one specific area. And I love how you give us an opportunity to expand out because it is truly a diverse experience and it is going to be different for each person in their family system. Um, so, once again, thank you for your transparency, the level of transparency that you offer, and the insight and detail that you gave us, because that definitely will help us as we move through the discussion. I'm going to yield back to Sora Ward.
Thank you, Sora Munt. Sora Mills, I get to ask you a question. So, Sora Mills, many people know you for your extraordinary career, but tonight we meet you as a mom and advocate. So, can you tell us a little bit about parenting a child with Down syndrome and how that shaped your understanding of disability advocacy and access? You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
I was 45 when I had Farad, and I really wanted to have a child. And I was told very early in my pregnancy that my child was going to be special needs. But it didn't matter to me. I wanted a child and I wanted someone to love and take care of. And really, Down syndrome is not the the disability. It's really the doctor's name. It's because he was the one who found the extra chromosome in the children, so they decided to name it Down syndrome. It was the doctor's last name. But I don't look at my child like as uh, a disability. He's so smart, and I hit the ground running with him. I had a therapist coming to the home and helping him, and he knew all his colors and everything by the time he went to kindergarten. So I never allowed people to treat him different, and I raised and I mainstreamed him in school, and he only took 2 special needs classes. And then I had a teacher go to school with him every day to make sure, even though his work was modified, that he would keep up with his class. So my
Mhm.
son doesn't even realize that he's different. He just thinks he's always on his computer, always on his phone. He announces me at the show. He's in my show now. He travels with me all the time. I never left him. He's written his second book, and it's coming out really soon. But, I really want parents to know that these children are special and they can do. They like to
Mhm.
put them in a corner and say, oh, they can't do this. They can't. I was told so much that my son wouldn't laugh, wouldn't do this, he wouldn't write. And he's written a book, 2 books, matter of fact. So I don't think that parents should believe what the doctors tell them. I never did because I was told nothing but negative things about what my child was and wasn't going to do.
That's really good that you're sharing that experience. I have similar experience as well. And so similar to what Sora Johnson mentioned too about her son. I have a high functioning um son on the autism spectrum. He's high functioning. And similar to what you just mentioned, I hit the ground running when I got him diagnosed. He was diagnosed later at 6, 5 or 6, but I knew at 17 months. And to your point, we can't let others dictate, medical field or otherwise, what our kids are capable of. We know.
Right.
And I feel like, we have to be their cheerleader at all times. So I commend you for like, hey, okay, that's a thing, but that's not going to be the thing that defines my child. And I think that's an important message that we should express to the audience that it may be a label that science and society may have given, but that is not what defines our children, and they're capable and able, not a disabled, but ably different is what
Yes.
I like to say. And then I also like to put forward that neurodiversity, which I think you were practicing without even really, neurodiversity seems to be a thing to say. I don't know. I'm just a mom too. So I like to change the narrative about how we look at our children. They're ably different. And what Sora Munt said, there's diversity within their diverseness. So that's really great that, you were able to be forward thinking for your son. And I commend him and congratulate him on all of the accomplishments.
Well, I mainstreamed him, and s
Hmm.
and I just feel like our children need to be at the forefront of autism and Down syndrome. They kinda overlook us, and I don't like that because
Yeah,
our children are just as special as just and they can do anything. Mothers
absolutely.
should not buy into they can't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So Armand, I'm going to change it over to you to help us continue to frame the conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because this conversation is really it's really important. I love the way that you guys are shaping the conversation around advocacy because we do wanna have it be a little bit more expansive because conversations about advocacy doesn't, like, exist in silos. While journeys are unique, there are shared realities across the communities of different abilities, right? And that's what I've always kind of called it, but I know that I try to use the formal language as I speak, but communities of different abilities. I do have a question for Soror. My apologies for Sora Vines. How do these similarities show up in areas like transition planning and long-term supports for families? I know you do that kind of work.
This question is for me or Sora Ward?
My apologies for Sora Vines for you.
So it's for Sora Vines.
Sora Vines.
Can you repeat the question?
I sure can. So my question is, how do those similarities show up in areas like transition planning and long-term supports for families? So transition
Well,
planning and long-term support.
okay, as it relates to transition planning,
Mhm.
I encourage all the families that the Answer Incorporated supports is to start transitioning as soon as you get the diagnosis. And I did not have that education when Jason first got diagnosed. It's a transition from diagnosis to preschool, from preschool to kindergarten, from kindergarten to regular grade, whether you're going to do like Sora Mills and Sora Johnson, is it mainstream for your kid. Mainstream was not for Jason because he was not cognitively ready, maybe music or gym or something like that, but academically he was not ready. And then it's another transition from regular grade to high school. And then high school, what do they do after they transition out of high school? And talking about transitions, when Jason was in I guess I would say the primary grades, I feel like the school that he was in, I did not have the knowledge of advocacy and parenting that I do right now. And I feel like they actually babysitted my kid all the way through school. Because when he aged out of school, he did not have name recognition, letter recognition, colors, any of that. Just some of the stuff that I kind of knew as a parent of a child. My firstborn is 52 now, and he was a latchkey kid, straight A student, everything. So everything was a total flip for me, right? And so now I know what advocacy looks like, and my agency actually teaches our parents the advocacy and the transitions. And so now Jason is actually, we're going through a transition of him being able to go into residential because I'm 67 and I'm thinking realistically, not emotionally. And I want to prepare him to live without me because God is going to call me home one day. I'm asking him for 100 years in my stilettos. 100 100 years in my stilettos, but at the end of the day, we still have to prepare, um, our situations, right? Because God forbid if something happened to me tonight, if I have not transitioned and gotten the situation together, I don't have any family in Chicago. My Jason's brother lives in Alabama. And so I had to think about, okay, Deborah, yeah, I'm dealing with a knee situation right now that I have to really struggle through because I'm the only parent. And I started thinking about what if I could not do anything for him right now? So last year we started this transition, and Jason's going to be transitioned to residential living with two other individuals, 15 minutes from my house because I'm that West Side mom. I have to still be close to him. But I'm so grateful that God um really just strengthened me to be able to start this transition now so that if something does happen to me, he's already situated. Nobody has to come from anywhere, none of my friends or anything. He's situated in a situation in his own living space. I can decorate his room. I'm mimicking his room just like it is here at his house. So that when we transition him, which is gonna be in 3 weeks, so y'all pray for me. Because look, I think it's gonna be harder for me than it is for him because I've actually had him in, weekend respites and things like that throughout
Mhm.
the years. But when you think about your kid not living with you anymore and you're still alive, it's gonna be something different, but it's a realistic situation. I'm getting older and even if I was 30 years old, something can happen to me tomorrow. But I want Jason to be situated where he's calm, where he's safe, where he's happy. And those are the things as special needs parents we think about being safe and being happy. And
Absolutely.
anyone that's on this
Absolutely.
call, and I will say this one last thing, and I know you got to get ready to the next question, but I want to say one last thing to anyone that's on this call. You have to come out of yourself emotionally. and think realistically. Because everybody knows that Jason is my plus one everywhere I go. Galas, Capitol, Springfield, Washington, D.C., he's right with me. But at the end of the day, I have to think about his next level when I'm not here anymore. Oh, I'm about to cry.
Don't cry. That's really. Go ahead, Sora Mike.
No, you just go ahead.
Okay. I was just gonna say you're doing what I'm doing now for my son. He is 19. He's still at home with me. And I just, he's high functioning, so I can kind of talk to him like, oh, like typically developing. I don't talk to him any different. I do have to explain some things a little bit more than others, but we had that conversation about him moving on to living by himself or living independently. And luckily, through, like you say, you just teaching him. And I know your son is a little different, where he has his autism is a little different. But like Sora Mills was saying about like her son, I've taught mine how to be independent, wash clothes, cook, clean, set up his rides and things like that. Because like you said, you are not going to be here forever. And if there is an opportunity for them to live an independent life and a better quality of life when you're gone, then, we should strive for that. So
Get it
thank you.
twisted now. Look, don't get it twisted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just because Jason is I'm not going to say low functioning, but he does not have a lot of academic and
Mhm,
and I would say safety
mhm,
components. But he gets up in the morning, he makes his bed before he goes to the bathroom.
mhm.
Cleans when he drops something on the floor, he gets the brooms and sweeps it up. He cleans the bathroom, that's his job. He empties the garbage, he mops the floor. His
And you
self-help
taught him
skills
all of those
are
things.
amazing,
Yeah.
but he does not understand danger, right? He does not understand when you walk out into the streets, you're gonna get hit by a car. If someone comes to you and says, "Come on, let's go," he doesn't understand that cognitive ability. Self-help skills on point. And a lot of my friends that have kids that are diverse, they do not have those skills. He gets something, he gets it done. So I'm grateful for that component because a lot of our families that have children that are and I don't like to use the term nonverbal. I
Mm.
say um of limited language.
I
Because
like that.
if you can make a sound, you can say a word. And I
I
thank
like
God for my god sister's mother who has passed away. But when Jason was about 5, I say, "Well, he can't talk." She said, "If he can make a sound, he can say a word." And now, so I don't let him point to anything. He have to say the word. And now he comes downstairs, he says goodnight to me. He just comes and he says good morning. He just does certain things now. And so, but I am just repetitive, just super repetitive. And I thank God for the ABA system. But it's repetitive. It's super repetitive. Whatever you want your kid to learn, you have to just keep teaching them over and over and over again. And my baby is ready. He's ready.
Absolutely. All right. I'm gonna ask Sora Mills the next question. From your perspective, what similarities have you observed across disability communities, particularly in access to services and educational supports?
I I really gave Farad all his support that he needed. I mean, he joined the Miracle League and played baseball, and they had a prom for them, and they assigned a prom date for him, and they came and picked him up in a limousine and took them to a facility where all the children uh, uh, dance. I find that even with we had a rock the socks just recently for my foundation, and they love to come and dance. They love music. They love karaoke and all that. But I don't find a lot of support in our community for our
Mm.
Black children. I don't find a lot of support for them. Not at all.
So, what do you think? I'm just going to quickly follow up with how can we fix that? Like the disconnect. I know that what can we do to kind of fill that gap?
I think that we need to have facilities where these children can come and learn, dance, play games, computers, and everything. And that's the one thing I want to do. I really want to build a school and a facility that's all inclusive, where they can live, where there's a grocery store, where they can learn and dance and do all the things that they want to do and live independently. But I don't find that here in Charlotte. I mean, and I've been working and going to different schools. I used to work at the poorest uh, and the hardest public school here in Charlotte. And the kids just need love. And I'm not even talking about children with disabilities, but children that just need love and companionship and understanding. Our children are special, and I call them special. I don't like to say disability. They just need special care. They need a little more time. They need just patience. Patience. And that's all children. Farad went to speak at a school and read his book to the children. And there were two Down syndrome boys in there, but they weren't verbal. Farad didn't understand that they couldn't talk because he was so verbal. So they were trying, one of the children was trying to ask him a question. And Farad said, please use your words. Use your words. But we don't advocate for our children like we should. No, that's a problem. But we have to build facilities, build schools and things like that, and have programs for them to come to and meet other children like them.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that inclusive environment and building that environment in our villages. I think
Yes,
sometimes we've gotten away from the village, mentality and being there as real community. I'm old enough to, know grandmama's friends and they were kind of like family and things of that nature. So that level of community that we those of a certain age remember is not there anymore. And I agree that we need to get back to that.
If
So
I
I
can if
mhm.
I can address that point, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I have to say something about this. A lot of it goes back to, and I'm very transparent. I am who I am, but it goes back to the families. It goes back to our community because we as African Americans, we're very proud people, right? And oftentimes what I've found is that in our community, they are so ashamed of the behavior
mhm,
that our children have. They are
yeah.
ashamed of the things that our kids do in grocery stores, maybe a meltdown or whatever. They are so ashamed that they don't bring them out. But if we don't bring our kids out, and if we have to deal with a meltdown in the middle of Target, we deal with it. We have to
We
call
deal with,
some
yes,
some s some support, we deal with it. But we have
yes.
to let the community know what we are going through for them to be able to accept what we're dealing with. But if we keep hiding our kids and just sending them off on the bus and letting them go to their day programs or their schools and not taking them out with us, people have to see us loving on our kids before
Thank
they can love on them as well.
thank you. I went to
Right.
even though I sent somebody with Farad to school, I was there every day. I would
Yes.
take him I take him lunch, and if Farad acts up, I don't just be like, "Oh, he's special." I grab him up just like he's another child.
Snatch them up.
I
Snatch
snatched
them.
him up in a minute, and he knows it. And I never wanted to hide him. I remember when I first had Farad, my brother asked me, "Are you putting him in an institution?" And I said, "Yes, I am putting him in an institution, the institution of Stephanie Mills."
I know that's
Come
right.
on. Come on.
Talking
I know
about school,
that's
I'm not
right.
putting my son in no institution. No. Mm-mm.
Selena, I already know you from Chicago, so I already know how you get down.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
But institution anyway, if there was an institution that you could put our kids in, there's nothing adequate out there anyway. And just to
Right.
piggyback off of what everybody is saying, it's community, it's families, but it's also government.
Yeah.
That they do not pay attention to the fact that the amount and percentage in regards to children who have special needs is so high, but they act as if, and just neurodivergent is
Yeah.
in this world, in America and in the world, they act like that it's not even a thing. There are not enough programs. Healthcare doesn't do anything. It's nothing that you can use your healthcare with. You have to go to the state or something to get like a IP, and it's just it's hoops and loops, always trying to
Yeah.
jump hoops to do stuff.
Especially healthcare.
Yeah.
They do not want to cover our children.
You
And
know, and the unfortunate part about it is that speaking of healthcare, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Syleena.
ABA therapy to me is the biggest disgrace
Yeah,
because ABA therapy is not covered by healthcare at all, and it is the
that's
most
it.
expensive cost and the most necessary cost. I used to spend, I don't know, sometimes it would be $200-300 an hour just for Kingston, just to have him have two, and he had to have
That's it.
2-3 hours, 3 days a week.
Yes.
Him to not scratch himself up and beat himself up. No, I
Yes.
mean, it's a lot. And also, I'll just say, and then I'll step out, is in terms of community, we also need programs for parents and families. There's not enough being said about what we're going through. I
Right.
said that the 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 stress levels of an autism or a parent who deals with special needs children is that of a soldier on the front line in war.
Yes.
That
Yes.
Yes, it is.
so there are
Yes.
therapy should be 100% free for
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
children. Like, don't get me started, because therapy should be free, and there are no organizations or facilities that also help to foster the emotional need of the families,
Yes. Yes.
moms and dads, and what we have to go through, and the fact that we don't know what's going to happen if something happened to us with our children.
Yes.
Right.
Well, Sora Johnson, that is something that I'm working on with the state of Illinois as it relates to mental health and special needs moms. I'm trying to get a bill passed, and I'm going to need all the sorors. Well, I got it online. I'm going to need all the sorors. So when that bill number comes out, I will let you know, because mental health and special needs moms, and I have my own testimony to adhere to that. You know, we go into different spaces where nobody is like Star Trek, what they say, the going on beyond that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
You do not understand what happens. You know, it's just like you guys, children, are higher function or whatever, but you never know when that special need is gonna kick in. Sometimes it's a fight, sometimes it's not a fight. Okay, go and do what you're gonna do.
Mhm.
But we need to have funding for mental health for special needs moms, period. It should be
So
a line item
so Sora
specifically for
Sora
that.
Johnson was speaking. I don't know if we heard her.
I'm sorry, Short Johnson. Let me mute myself because I'm getting a little.
Sorry, I hyped everybody up. I'm sorry.
It's all good. That's why we're here talking, and it's a necessary conversation. And Sora Johnson, I just wanted to just jump in real quick. We kind of going off script just a tad, but these are topics that we need to talk about. We need to hear them, and it's wonderful to hear them from those in the public eye. You all are regular people too when it comes down to every day. And I also wanted to just tell you all and the audience at large that Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated is the first D9 organization that has raised the bar with our programming and focusing on autism acceptance. And we do have a toolkit that addresses three areas: the caregiver, early diagnosis, and then that transition to adulthood. So the sisterhood has taken this on for quite some time. I am just the second director of this program, and in this role, try to elevate. So just letting everyone know that we have a finger on the pulse of those things needed, and the caregiver portion that you just recognized. There are chapters across the sisterhood who um, promote this by, programs, webinars, sharing information in the community. So it's a matter of boots on the ground, getting that information out. as best we can so that those sources and resources and supports that are available, because they are, I think that we just need to organize and galvanize getting the message out to our community. And Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated is definitely at the forefront of doing those things. So,
Also,
yeah,
we need to lean on our government officials,
absolutely.
resources to be able to facilitate the things that, like organizations like Zeta Phi Beta Sorority.
Yes. So absolutely. Part of another part that I want to quickly, and then we're going to, in 5 minutes, go to the Q&A. I understand that there are some questions and answers for that session that we want to get to. I have been pushing an advocacy portion into our programming. So that does include talking to your elected officials, whether it's at your mayor, your alderman, your city council person, your state senator, your state delegate, and then up to the congressional level. We do have Zeta Day on the Hill, but we try to organize and have a cohesive message. So during the year, this is not just one time out the year. We live this every day. It's 365, 24/7. It's autism isn't just April. So making those arrangements to go and talk to your elected officials is definitely a part of our programming as well.
And before you go forward, so Rod, I just want to say that the state of Illinois is really moving forward as it relates to funding, and advocacy and mental health for autism and developmental disabilities. I have to acknowledge our leader, Senator Lightfoot, and our speaker, Chris Welch, and soon to be Congressman LaShawn Ford. They are really behind our cause. And I can say that the legislators in Illinois are really boots on the ground because they tired of hearing my voice. I'm going to tell the whole they tired of hearing my voice, but at the end of the day, it's just not my voice. It's other advocacy agencies that are boots on the ground in Illinois. And it might be other states as well. But we are really working hard as it relates to the legislative advocacy related to disabilities. Because we're on the bottom right now. We're on the bottom. We're on the bottom.
Yeah.
So
All right. I'm going to turn the floor over to Sora Muntz to pull we have some questions in the Q&A. Sora Muntz.
Certainly. Let's go over to the Q&A. So we have one question here. This is open. What strategies do you use to teach our children self-advocacy?
So, take this very quickly. Can you guys hear me okay?
We
Yes.
can hear you better now.
Okay. So sorry, I don't know what's going on with my microphone, but you said, what do we do individually for our kids to teach them advocacy?
What strategies do you use to teach our children self-advocacy? Like, what strategies are you using, or that you recommend for people to use?
For my son to teach him about advocacy, first of all, I do I do teach him about autism, but I do not teach him that he is disabled. I do not teach that. I teach him that he has special needs, and I tell him, Mama got special needs too. Daddy got special needs. Everybody has special needs. So I try to teach him not to separate himself from anyone else. Kingston didn't even know he had autism. I had to explain to him what autism was. I call it awesomeism. That's what I call it for him. And but I teach him just like I teach my 18-year-old. I teach him the same principles, the same mannerisms, the same manners, the same, way to be in this world. For me, there is nothing different. But again, Kingston, you would not be able to tell that Kingston had autism um, most of the time because he is high functioning. However,
Mhm.
people do talk to him and they learn that he may be on the spectrum. I teach him to be proud of who he is and what he can or cannot do, of how he speaks to people. And I try to not make excuses all the time or disclaimers. Well, my son. Well, my son. I let him, I let him um, be 15 and explain himself in his own environment. So I think kind of what Sora Vines was saying, we have to let go emotionally sometimes and just allow them to advocate for themselves, because you'd be surprised on how smart and how capable they are doing in the first.
Thank you, Soror.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Um, we have another question here. You all, oop, my camera. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, my camera flicked out there. Okay, so to the question. There was another question posed in the chat about false narratives and misinformation about neurodivergence. I know you all have touched on it to some degree, but if there's anything specifically you might want to say, I would open that up to all three of you.
You said something specific that we can say about neurodivergence.
How do you deal with false narratives with neurodivergence? So the question is, how do you deal with false narratives and misinformation about neurodivergence?
Sora Vines, you were trying to talk. Your mic is off.
Oh, I was asked to repeat the question, but I think because this webinar has been primarily centered around neurodivergent, but primarily autism. I think that's a question for Stephanie. Sora Mills.
You're muted, Soror.
I can talk
There you go.
all night.
You answer it, Vine. You answer it. Because this is
Well,
about,
you know what?
I'm not
Okay.
really, I'm not real. I don't, there's children with Down syndrome and autism.
Yes.
I've met children like that with both.
Yes.
Farad just has Down syndrome, so I don't want to speak from an ignorant place about autism. I know that they don't like sound, they don't like to be touched, um, and some children with Down syndrome are like that too. But I feel like you guys should answer more of the questions.
Well, Sora Mills, since I started the Answer Incorporated in 2007, when we started, it said autism, right? And then we
Uh-huh.
changed from developmental to intellectual disabilities because I found that a lot of parents that were coming to the Answer, they had children with Down syndrome, ADD, ADHD, learning disabilities, things like that. And guess what?
What?
They mirrored autism. They still had signs and symptoms of autism. And I'm actually piggybacking on Sorrel Johnson. Believe I have some characteristics of autism, okay?
Right. I mean, we
Can
all
I get some
have
snaps for that? Can I get some snaps?
disabilities. I mean, like we
Yes.
do. So for people to act like, oh, there's something really wrong with them is I
Sorrel
don't
Mills, you
understand
got
it.
glasses on. That's a disability.
That's a disability.
I mean, see, I got
Thank
contacts
you.
when I'm reading. I got to put my glasses on. So
Thank you. When I had my son took my eyesight. I had 20/20 before I had Verizon. After Verizon, I
see,
had
my
to
teeth
wear
start falling out.
I had to wear glasses. But I look at autism and people with special babies. Even when I was younger, I always gravitated to them. There was something about them that was so special and touched my heart.
Yeah.
So I don't buy into all, and the children with
ADHD.
I don't like for parents to put their children on Ritalin and all these different drugs. My son is not on drugs. I never allowed the doctor to put my son on drugs. The only thing he had to have spine surgery, And we did that at the Shriners Hospital in Philadelphia. We were there for 8 weeks, and I was there every day, every night. I spent the night there. I never left my son. But, our babies are loved and they're special, and they're God's gift to the world. That's just how
And
I.
we special for being special parents because I
And
promise.
God knows who to give
God
those
knows
babies
he
to.
knew what he was doing when he
He
made
do.
us
I
there.
promise you,
us.
all us are
Yes,
super
he
queens.
did.
Look,
Yes,
we got big crowns. We don't have little crowns.
okay,
We got
Yes,
big
he did.
crowns.
baby. And
Yeah.
I'm a single mom, so I had to deal with my son by myself, you
Yeah.
know?
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? It's just meant for me for the last 8 years. And the thing about it is, and I know we might be going off topic a little bit, but my husband died 8 years ago. And I didn't realize how spoiled I was until he passed away. But he did the laundry. He got pulled out Jason's clothes. He has so many of his characteristics, and Jason lays his clothes out just like he taught him and things like that. But it's so many single parents out here now. It's so many that are dealing with their children with special needs. And so I have to tilt my hat and give a salute to the single moms. Not minimizing the married ones because sometimes even when we married, we still it's
Are
almost like we're
single.
single because we're
Yes.
doing everything. So
Mhm.
let me give you some snaps too.
Right. Right.
Selena was like, so, I just, it's the thing about it is, in this webinar is so empowering. I think we probably need to have a part two. But just, you guys coming on and giving, with the big lives that you live. All of us live big lives in certain areas, but you guys live big, big lives. You guys live international lives. And just to know, you know, people forget that even though you live a big life, you're still a mom. You're still a
Yes.
person. You cut, you bleed. And the things that your kid go through, I don't care if you got 15 nannies. If you have all the services, if you have the money to pay for things or whatever, you're still a mom.
Yep.
You're still a mom. And, just getting back to the funding, and what I'm going to lead with, because I know we getting close to time,
Yeah.
but
So I was wanting to ask one more
no,
question.
no, I
We have
just got
about
one thing to
three.
say.
We got about
What,
3 minutes.
what I want to leave with is everyone that's on this call, whether you have someone that is directly impacted by disability, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's the person that's sitting next to you in church, whether it's somebody that's at the grocery store, love conquers all.
Yes. Ooh.
And when you love hard. You love real hard. And that's everybody, whether it's special needs, no needs, or whatever. And just open your heart to disabilities. Open your heart to inabilities. I'm gonna say that, Stephanie. I'm getting that from you. Sora Mills. Open your heart to inabilities. Open your heart. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you all for all of this amazing information about the different, how would you put it? All the various levels of diversity within the neurodiverse community, all the multifaceted experiences that you have as mothers, how people experience different things as caregivers, what the individual's experiences be, self advocacy, the different resources that you all have been using, the way that you have leveraged your platforms to really bring about attention to the everyday experience, because there are so many people who are out there who are having some similar experiences to the things that you all have been discussing here. At this time, we would like to offer of you the opportunity to address a charge that you would like to give the sisterhood. If you could offer one charge to Zeta chapter, to our amici, to our youth auxiliaries regarding inclusion, what would that be? And I would like to start with Sora Stephanie Mills.
A charge?
Yes.
Uh, I don't understand that question. I didn't understand it when you say a charge, what do you mean?
If you would like to give like an action, something to be carried forth, an action for them to carry out, maybe at their chapter level, the state
Oh,
level, programming, maybe even using their toolkit that we offer. Something that you would encourage them to do while they are working to include um, inclusion and diversity and empathy and respect and consideration into their programming. What might you recommend or encourage them to do?
I think that I want to encourage our community to really pull together and go to our government and have funding for our children to build a school for our children. They should not have to go to a school that people just sit them and don't participate. I've been in a school where I've seen where they give the child so much drugs that he's just laying out on the floor. He's not really even doing anything. I think that they need a place of their own. They could be an inclusion with other children, but they need to have. They're not special enough. The government needs to really. I think healthcare needs to be free. I think their schooling and all that we need to do for them needs to be free. Everything for our special babies need to be free. And that's the government. I mean, if Trump can build a gazillion-dollar ballroom that nobody's going to come to, they can build a school for our children. I think it's ridiculous what's going on in our world.
It's our, I could say my charge would be for every single soror who does not have a special needs child to align themselves with a special needs family.
Yes.
One, teach more. And just understanding is half the battle. Once it's just like anything that is discrepancy in our country or misunderstanding in our country. It's like racism for people. We hate what we don't understand. We react to things that we don't understand. So my charge, all of our sorors, and to even include our brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, to take the time, understand, know, and lock themselves with the one autism. And I think that can make a difference. So grasp it and just understand it, like, and in that understanding, you may be able to reach government officials. It people in power that provide these. So connectivity is the charge from
Yes.
Soros. Love that. Okay, connectivity.
For Vines? Oh, you're muted.
I just gave a little bit of my charge, but I just want to piggyback on my sorors Mills and Johnson. Um, Firstly, that we do need a facility, a big facility, not something that's groundbreaking.
Yes.
In Soror Mills and Soror Johnson, I would love to talk offline with you all about that because I do have a lot of political love, and I'm sure that in you all states that we can collaborate collectively, but it has to be done legislatively. We have to get the state behind us to
Yes.
get the funding because we talking about couple of $1 million project, and I believe that we can do it. I do. We got some power right here. We could bring on Holly and Tisha Campbell, and we have some powerhouse people. So let's do it. Let's just find a location and get it done.
You get it done.
And then just piggybacking on Soror Johnson, it's the advocacy. You know, each one teach one. We can't gatekeep about this thing. You know, when Jason was diagnosed, um, a long time ago, 1988, 88, 89, the numbers were 1 in 1,000. Now it's 1 in 35. So if there's 36 people in the room, someone has a disability, maybe 2 or 3 that just have not said anything. So we have to not gatekeep about our family members. We can't gatekeep about information, even if you're not a person that is directly impacted by autism, Down syndrome, any other disability. Let's just open our hearts to disabilities and not be gatekeepers. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, sorors. This has been a wonderful conversation. We have been reminded that disability or differently abled advocacy is not theoretical. It's deeply personal, it is ongoing, and it requires all of us. So, that connectivity, the opening of your hearts to have those conversations engaging in our legislative and elected officials. It takes everyone to get this done. And we have to keep talking about it. It's not just a one and done. It's not a photo op. It's not a month of observance. It's every single day because this is something that we need to keep at the forefront for change, for inclusion, and for all of the things that you have charged the sisterhood with. We also charge the community with as well. So let us move from a conversation to commitment and ensuring that access, inclusion, and advocacy are not just moments, but sustained actions in our communities. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our president and CEO, Dr. Stacy NC Grant, for our parting words.
Well,
Madam
thank
Grant?
you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ward. My heart is so full. You see the hearts. You all keep putting all the emotions in the chat. This has been such a heartfelt, engaging conversation, very transparent about awareness and information. Thank you, Director Ward, Co-Director Muntz, Soror Syleena Johnson, Soror Stephanie Mills, and Soror Debra Vines for lending us your time and your expertise because this is a lived experience. We're not here pontificating on the best ways to handle autism. You're talking about your life, your children, family members who are living life differently. I believe that God makes all kind of variations from the trees and the flowers even into people. And as we had this conversation, no one is asking for a pity party. We're asking for education around how we can advocate for those who may not be able to use their voice to do it, how we force policy. That is what embracing the extraordinary power of she is about. Advocating for social justice, health justice, and economic justice at home and abroad. That is what this represents as we continue to be the pioneers in this space, as we continue to give the information that impacts transformational change through our ZHOPE program. So I want to thank you all for your time and your attention tonight. Take the actions that our sorors have given us, and let's go out there as Zetas, as Amici, as Youth Auxiliary, as Zeta Male Network members, and challenging our brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated to join us in this effort in championing the cause of awareness and acceptance for autism. So God bless you all as we start the second quarter of the year, and may the next months be your best months because as Finer Women, nobody does it like us. God bless you and have a wonderful night.
God bless. God bless.
I love you all.
I
And
love
Sora
you.
Mills, this
Yes.
is your first official sorority webinar, so we need to give you some more round of applause that you are officially here with your
Sure.
sorors.
Thank you. I so enjoyed it. Thank you.
You are welcome. And thanks for all of the emotions going up and the hearts and the claps. And thank you to our honorary member, director, judge, Tanya Boza Jones, and all of our tech team who have been here supporting this. My heart is full with pride and joy to be a finer woman of Z5B.
Ah.
I love it.
Thank you, Madam Grant. Thank you so much. And with that, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We will be sending some follow-up information about Sora Vines's and Sora Mills' respective organizations. We apologize for not having that prepared, but we do have information going forward about their respective organizations and how you can support. So thank you so much for joining us this evening, and we bid you all good evening.
Good evening.
And everyone.
Night.
Bye.
Love you all.